Yo, what's good, everyone? What you mean I'm using your word shaka? Fuck out of here, nigga. You really think you the one that came up with politrick? Oh my god, yo. Bro, I could show you my Facebook that I did in 2010, and you will see the word politricks in there from 2010. Nigga talking about I'm using his word. You don't get the fuck on, nigga. See, now you got me cursing like 2 minutes into this stuff. Don't YouTube like flag it when you curse too early or something? They'll say I'm using his words. I made it back in. Ah! Oh yeah, I forgot, yo. You are the Christ. You know what I'm saying? But you see, you're not the full. You're not the full Jesus. You're not the full Christ. You're the 5% Christ. You're 5% of. Oh my goodness, yo. Hold on a second, man. Let me let a few folks know that I'm live. I mean, if they care. If they even care to be here. But yeah, man. How's the day been going, new? Or whoever else is in here, how's the day been going? It's raining cats and dogs over here, bro. Shit is crazy. Shit is crazy. Shit is crazy. Hold on a second, man. Let me share my live with my peoples in the Discord and stuff. You feel me? So they know what's what. I mean, give me a sec. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Oh, I already got 4 people watching. That's great. That's good. That's good. That's good. Oh, all right, Blazes. Okay, good. Alrighty. Been in the high hundreds? Damn, man, y'all got it good. Even though I'm not really wishing for high hundreds either. But it's been raining like crazy. Alrighty. Yeah, I guess I got 5 people. YouTube notification. Oh, nice. Notifications is working. That's good. That's perfect. Anyways, yo, yeah, let me just get right into this shit, man. Maybe I should call this geopolitics. You know, I bet you ain't make that word up, new. You know. Anyways, so I wasn't really planning on doing a politics stream just for the simple fact that, you know, a lot of people be on that anyway and stuff, you know. But I had seen this interview, well, not interview, press conference by JD Vance earlier today, you know. And of course, if you haven't seen it yet, you know, a lot of creators are saying that, oh my God, he didn't know what he was doing. Oh, Trump threw him under the bus with that one, and blah, and all that stuff. And quite frankly, I mean, I don't know if he was thrown on under the bus, but like at some point, man, you just gotta know, like, these motherfuckers playing in our face, bro. They are playing right into our face. You understand me? Now, like I said, I'm mainly going to talk about this whole ceasefire MOU thing, you know, because yeah, I think this press conference thing really kind of triggered me to do it. So now, if you haven't seen it, JD was getting grilled on stuff, and he was stuttering. Well, not really stuttering. He stuttered on the word ballistics a bit. His voice was like going out at times. So, and it's safe to say that we have finally surrendered to Iran to a certain extent. I mean, I know this is a temporary ceasefire thing, 60-day MOU or whatever. But it's a few things that I highlighted from the press conference, and just wanted to talk about that a little bit, if I may. So, first of all, you know, I'm sure y'all know who JD Vance is, current vice president. And he mentions that, he said that this whole agreement and deal is going to be a win-win for each side, especially for the US and the broader regions. And it's a win-win, like especially for the US, because Iran is weakened. Iran's economy is in desperate straits. And if they change their behavior or not, it would be no skin off the US's back either way. And that's how, President Orange set it up, you know? And especially when it comes to, this the whole ballistics missile program, you know? And in my honest opinion, that's BS. And I think everybody knows that's bullcrap. And the reason why I say this is because Iran's ballistic missile program is not weakened. The country is not weakened. Like everything that they say that they've bombed and they destroyed, they haven't destroyed anything really. You understand me? They haven't. The ballistic missiles program has not been destroyed. JD claims that uh Iran does not have the capacity to rebuild their nuclear weapons program. And that's bullshit as well. You understand? Because if you think about it, right? Y'all remember when Trump claimed that Iran's nuclear weapons program and their ballistics program? I mean, I'm using these things interchangeably, right? And even though they're not the same thing, obviously, but I'm using them interchangeably. But remember when Trump claimed that shit was totally obliterated, you know? Like last year's what did they call it again? The Midnight Hammer, Operation Midnight Hammer. And we launched Operation Midnight Hammer, and Trump came out and said that, oh yeah, totally obliterated their nuclear weapons program, is completely destroyed and all of that stuff. And then about 6 to 8 months later, we go back to Iran to destroy their nuclear weapons program. It's like, nigga, I thought we did that the first time. You know? So what happened? You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, that was a lie. And now, fast forward to today, all of a sudden, our dear president is saying that it's only fair for Iran to have a ballistic missiles program or a nuclear weapons program, and all the surrounding areas as well. So it's like, okay, so has it been obliterated? Has it been destroyed? Or is it in their right for them to have some kind of self-defense? You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to get into these things in a few more details because I think a few days ago I really went into the rabbit hole of the whole uranium enrichment thing, like the whole process with that stuff. And I'm going to talk about that a bit later. Now, Vance further on claims that, they destroyed the ballistic launchers, so not the bullets, but the gun, right? They destroyed the launchers, and what Trump was trying to say with that, with Iran having the right to have weapons and all that stuff, or nuclear weapons or ballistic missiles, you know, is that Iran is not giving up the right for self-defense, the same way we don't expect Israel to give up the right of self-defense or any other of the surrounding countries, So it's like, okay, so they have a right to self-defense, but yet the reason why you're in there is because you want to make sure they don't have any nuclear weapons, and you want to also destroy their ballistic missiles and all that stuff. So do they have a right to self-defense, or do they not have a right to self-defense? You understand what I'm saying? Like, what is this flip-floppy ass shit? You understand? Yo, what's up, J Lock? J Lock Flip? Was that your name back in the day? Anyway, J Lock, yeah, I remember you, man. What's good? What's good? What's good? Anyways, so it's like, okay, do they have a right to self-defense, or do they not have a right to self-defense? And when we're talking about the right to self-defense, what exactly are we talking about? This right that Trump is mentioning, right? And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. So, however, so like Vance was saying, they destroyed the ballistic launchers and all that stuff, and Trump meant that Iran is not giving up the right to self-defense, just like you wouldn't expect any other country to give up their right to self-defense, but that they do expect that Iran would not build the kind of missiles that could broadly threaten the entire world. And that is meant to be part of the deal with Iran, you know? So, what are we talking about here? So, you're just gonna trust them not to build any missiles that will threaten the entire world. Yet, this is what they have been doing. And again, I'm going to get to a few details about this particular MOU in a minute, right? So just to bring it all home later and let y'all know why all this shit don't make no sense for real. Now keep in mind, imagine the outrage. Imagine the outrage and the fit that Republicans would throw if this were the Democrats doing it. But I don't want to get too much into blue, red. These do, they do it, they do it, they do it. To me, they are somewhat part of the same clique, right? So anyway, just imagine the uproar. Imagine Fox News. You understand me? What would go on Fox News? What the reporting would be like if this was how do you call him again? Sleepy Joe doing it, or if this was Obama doing it, right? So again, keep in mind everything I said, right to self-defense, and that we expect that Iran will not build the kind of missiles that could broadly threaten the entire world. Okay. So, and also the president is hoping that this deal would prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon in the future. Yo, this shit. I took notes on this stuff as I'm reading through my notes. And I'm gonna bring it home. I'm gonna explain in more detail, right? So we trust Iran not to. We hope that Iran is not going to we hope that this deal will prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon in the future, right? I'm going to go into detail about that. I know I keep saying that, but just follow me here. Just follow me here. So, further things that Vance was claiming is in order, for because it was a press conference, so like the reporters were asking questions and everything, and like the reporters were asking like, yo, so but what if they do go ahead and do rebuild a nuclear weapon? Like we've been seeing how they've been rebuilding all these drones and all of that stuff, and it seems like they're rebuilding these drones for cheap and blah blah blah. So JD's like, yeah, well, in order for them to get a nuclear weapon, they would need a shit ton of money to be able to build that. They would need a shit ton of money to be able to build a nuclear weapon. Okay. That's another thing he said. All right. So just keep in mind everything I'm saying, right? And I'm building up here. So what else? What else he say? Yeah. So he also claims that right now, see, the thing is with Iran right now, we have them in the economic chokehold. We got them in the economic chokehold right now. So if Iran does not get its act together or behave, see Cantrell. Wait a minute. See Cantrell, are you from the Discord? Hey, yo, Blaze, can you help me? Is this Cantrell from the Discord? Did you used to be in the Discord? Or are you still in the Discord? The name sound mad familiar. Anyway, yeah, Carmen. There you go. From the Discord, Carmen the Gardener. Anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. Smurgle kicked you out. That's what I heard. Yo, you know what? After this stream, I'm going to demand that Smurgle bring you back to the Discord. Cause I don't know. I don't know what I don't even know what happened. I do not even know. I asked Blaze, like, yo, whatever happened to that light-skinned girl that be gardening and shit? And Blaze told me that you got kicked out by Smurgle. I don't know why, but I will demand that he bring you black. That he bring you black. I mean, he bring you back. Okay. Anyway, now back to this. So yeah, like I said, JD was claiming that we got Iran in the economic chokehold right now, and if they don't get their act together and behave, the US will not release, right? I'm sure y'all have heard about the whole $300 billion thing and all of that stuff. Iranian media is claiming that we about to get 12 billion or 24 billion dollars and all that propaganda here and there. Go into a little more detail in that as well. Now, as far as what JD is saying about the economic chokehold, I kind of understand what they're saying, but this is why I titled this shit Politricking, because motherfuckers be playing tricks with the words and everything. You understand me? Now, you can't really say that there is a chokehold on their economy. But the reason why he's claiming that we currently have Iran in a chokehold or an economic chokehold is because we're kind of messing up their money when it comes to the oil sales, because we got the Navy blockade there on the oil ports. So it's like, okay, well, if y'all blocking the strait, then we're gonna block y'all oil ports, and you can't even sell your oil under the table like y'all been doing it for China and stuff, with like the shadow tankers and stuff, kind of like the same thing that Venezuela was doing as well. No shadow tankers or nothing like that, right? We're hindering your export of oil that you're not even supposed to be selling anyway because you're sanctioned, right? So yeah. So I don't know Um, if y'all can follow me, but I'm my apologies if I sound a little all over the place. But anyways, I hope y'all with me so far. You know, now I want to bring the attention to this MOU thing, right? And I want y'all to keep in mind everything that I said about economic chokehold and Iran better behave and Iran is weakened and um, the economy is in desperate straits and all of that shit, right? Now, you see the problem with all that, right, is the MOU or the ceasefire deal that they got, you know, states that sanctions will be lifted only if Iran, well, the sanctions for Iran, like on them selling their oil, are going to be lifted. Pretty much they're going to get the oil waivers if they can, quote unquote, behave. Now, behave really means keep the strait open. No more attacks, right? Don't attack anyone, especially don't attack our US bases, right? And also keep the strait open. Don't attack any US bases and I guess our allies or whatever. And then also here's the kicker. Because they were saying that, oh yeah, nuclear weapons this and nuclear weapons that, right? They have a right to self-defense and all that shit. But then again, we destroyed everything. They said you need to ensure that you keep your uranium at less than 60% purity. Okay? Keep it to less than 60% purity. That is what they want. Now I'm gonna go into a little more detail. Keep in mind, or maybe some of y'all know this, or maybe some of y'all don't know this. They say you should keep your enrichment of your uranium to less than 60% purity. It takes 90% to actually have a nuclear weapon. You understand me? So if currently Iran is at 60% enrichment, they're not that far off of having a nuclear warhead. You understand what I'm saying? So all that shit about, oh yeah, we bombed the nuclear weapons, they don't have a nuclear weapons program and all that stuff. How? If you're gonna tell these people that they gotta keep their shit to less than 60% is technically already a danger zone. You understand what I'm saying? Now, keep in mind, I'm gonna just slide this in there. Obama had the motherfuckers on less than 4%. To be quite exact, 3.67%. That's what Obama had them on. But hey, JCPOA was a bad deal, right? So yeah, it takes about 90% to build a nuclear bomb, and Iran is already at 60%. Also, just like with the JCPOA, they're gonna have the IAEA, come in there, monitor that stuff, and make sure that they keep their shit under 60%. Okay. Now, keep in mind this is a temporary agreement. This is the MOU, right? And it's going to be 60 days for 2 months. So, again, sanctions are going to be lifted if Iran can quote unquote behave, right? And that means keep the strait open. What I say, keep the strait open, don't attack anybody, and keep your uranium to less than 60%, right? But the thing is about this MOU is that Iran is going to be able to make money as soon as they sign this shit. So what am I saying? As soon as Iran signs the MOU, oil sanctions are lifted and the Navy blockade is going to be cleared. So, meaning the US is going to move away from the oil ports. So, as soon as the ink dries on that paper, Iran has the chance to openly sell their oil now in the market. No more under the table stuff. No more, yo, meet me over here at this block and this, that. You know what I'm saying? Nah, we selling openly now. So China, for example, can openly just buy oil now and nobody can say nothing because sanctions have been lifted. That goes in effect immediately. Okay. I'm saying this to say, I want y'all to get this whole level, this whole chokehold talk, and we obliterated, and we expect them not to have no nuclear weapons and all that shit when these motherfuckers is already at 60%, right? And the only and also in order for them to stick to the agreement, you know, because I didn't mention obviously all the things that they'll be able to get as well with this MOU. That's after the 60 days are over, of course, and they reach their final deal and stuff. So okay, so as soon as Iran signs this damn MOU, they will get instant access to their money. And we talk about millions, if not billions per day, because everybody's hurting for fucking oil. So Iran's going to be able to open up shop day one. Soon as we sign, that same day or 24 hours later, we able to sell oil. The US is going to get the fuck up out of our oil ports and we're going to start transporting shit. You understand me? That goes into effect immediately. Right? So now, keep in mind, don't forget that the Strait of Hormuz is still under Iran's control. the Strait of Hormuz is still under Iran's control, right? And I think it was also mentioned in the press conference that I think after the 60 days, when they've reached the final deal and everything, because all this is meant to be temporary, right? That for now, right? Until they reach their final deal in 60 days. So I think Vance mentioned something along the lines of, the Omanians and the, how do you call it, the Gulf State Coalition or whatever, they will work it out on how what they're gonna do with the Strait of Hormuz. So in other words, who's gonna own that motherfucker? Or is it gonna be that it's just gonna be like before, like before the war that Iran, because before the war or before we struck Iran and all that stuff on behalf of, you already know, Iran wasn't really bothered with that strait, right? So now after this, Vance was saying, the Gulf State Coalition, Oman and Iran, they're going to work out who is going to own that, because at the end of the day, they don't, none of these three nations and stuff, well, three nations, I mean, Gulf Coalition is more, but anyway, because Iran wouldn't want to how do you say, have leverage, or Oman wouldn't want to have leverage and all of that stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, exactly, Blaze, the GCC. So, and I'm paraphrasing this part now. Vance was like, yeah, because Oman wouldn't want to have leverage, or Israel wouldn't want to have leverage or control over that strait. Something along those lines. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? They wouldn't want to have leverage and stuff. Listen, man, these cats, what makes you so sure that after these 60 days, they're not going to be like, yeah, this strait is still ours? You know what I'm saying? We don't give a fuck about what anybody says. Fuck GCC, fuck Oman. We keep in control of this motherfucker. And you know what? Who's going to stop these niggas? When on day one, they already going to make millions, if not billions, billions and billions of dollars on day one when you sign this fucking MOU. You understand what I'm saying? These motherfuckers probably already have tankers ready to go, my nigga.
So you literally giving them the chance. You don't even have to wait till these 60 days are over. Right on day one, motherfuckers going to make money off of oil. So they gonna make all these millions of dollars and shit, or billions of dollars and shit off of selling oil. And I'm sure China's not. It's not the only one that's going to buy from them. I'm thinking that it's going to be one of their biggest buyers, but definitely not going to be the only one buying from them within these 60 days. So can you imagine how much that's going to be every day? So that's already strengthening their pockets. So by the time these 60 days is over and Iran's like, nah, fuck y'all, we keep control of this stuff. Oh, what, you're going to stop them now? Because now they have more money, more resources, and more chances to build their shit. Right? And keep in mind, they're already at 60% purity. Okay? I'm going to go into more detail about that again with that whole enrichment shit. Because, like I said, I went down a rabbit hole with that stuff, man, a few days ago. And yeah. So yeah, stick around for that. So and all this stuff is confusing. Now they use a lot of confusing language. You know, they say stuff like upon implementation of the MOU and all of that shit, making it seem like, okay, Iran is going to get all these concessions, if you will, after the 60 days is over, right? But like I said, motherfuckers gonna be making money from day one as soon as they sign that shit. I don't even know if they've already signed it or not, to be honest with you. I guess they probably still reading over it or whatever, right? So now, keep in mind, if they're able to quote unquote behave in the span of these 60 days, so what's that again? Don't attack anyone, right? Because it's a ceasefire. Don't attack our bases. Um, keep your uranium enrichment below 60%. So in other words, you could keep it at 58% if you want. Your shit can be at 58%. It's cool. As long as it's underneath 60% purity, and the IAEA, which hasn't even confirmed that they're gonna be the ones to monitor it, like they did for the JCPOA, but I'm sure, of course, they will be the governing body to monitor that shit. So keep your shit at 58% maximum or 59.5 maximum, right? Don't attack anyone. Keep the strait open, and if you can behave for 60 days, what's going to follow after that? We're going to unfreeze some of your assets, right? Unfreeze the assets. And also, we're going to start rolling out this $300 billion reconstruction investment. You understand? Now, Iranian media is bragging to their people, already saying that, yeah, we're going to get $12 billion, or we about to get $24 billion as soon as we sign, which is not the case. That is propaganda on their end. They acting like, oh yeah, we going to get money right off the bat. They about to pay us $12 billion as soon as we agree to this, which they're not. However, they're still going. The Navy blockade is going to be dissolved. I mean, they're going to pull back, and like I said, they'll be their oil. They'll get the oil waivers. So, in other words, the sanctions is going to be lifted, and they'll be able to sell oil. So they could even make well above that. You understand me? So it's not like the U.S. has said that, yeah, we're going to pay them $24 billion up front, because it's been a lot of miscommunication about these $300 billion and that's going to come from taxpayer. There is nothing. And that's why you always got to watch all these fucking YouTubers and shit, man. Don't get me wrong. I watch it too and all that stuff, but it does help doing your own research a little bit, because from what most people think is that $300 billion, they're going to start rolling that out. And, the first payment is going to be $24 billion and all of that shit. Nah, that's not happening. And it's going to come from taxpayers' money. Nowhere in the MOU does it say that. You understand? So those are not the facts as of yet. It does say that, yes, there's going to be a $300 billion reconstruction fund that is but that's a long term thing, over a longer period of time to help uh, reconstruct Iran and all that stuff. And that's going to come from private investment companies or from private companies, right? But it doesn't say that, oh, that's what they're bound to get as soon as they agree to the terms, right? So, yeah, the only thing that is immediate is naval blockade is going to be loosened up, or pretty much they're going to retreat from their ports, and Iran is going to start, openly selling oil, right? Just like they did in the JCPOA. And there's a reason why I'm mentioning that. So now let me tell y'all a little bit about this uranium thing. Like I said, the shit that I went through that I went on a rabbit hole, that I went in the rabbit hole for. And yeah, I seen a couple people have already left, so I guess it's only the smart niggas that's in here right now. Another person left, so got 5 people watching. Listen, man, it's for smart niggas only, man. If you ain't smart, niggas, smarten the fuck up. You understand me? Let me break this shit down. Now, from what I've researched a bit about, enriching uranium, right? For some of you may already know, I'm sure, like, folks like Blaze, I know Zero was in here before and stuff like that. I expect y'all to kind of like already know this shit, right? So the uranium thing is yellow powder, right? And how this shit works is that yellow powder, there's some process done to it where it gets converted into gas. That gas is called um, uranium hexafluoride, or UF6, right? That UF6 gas is fed into a centrifuge via what you would call a feed header, right? So I guess just imagine, through a tube that's connected to the centrifuge, it's fed into the gas, the UF6 or the uranium hexafluoride is pumped into the centrifuge. Now the centrifuge, I think it says the IR1, for example, has like 70,000 RPM, spin rate. You know what I'm saying? So that shit gets spun around in there, you know what I'm saying? Put in the 4 Nelson, and then what comes out of that UF6 or uranium hexafluoride is what you call U-235, which are the good atoms, or U-237, which are the bad atoms. The bad atoms are pretty much during the spinning, they kind of like get fizzled out, to the outer side of the centrifuge or whatever. Anyway, they go through a tube. So the good atoms, which is U-235, flows through the the product header. Like, it has its own tube that it will go through. Then the bad atoms, which is U-237, yeah, they get separated. Exactly, right? They get separated into these 2 different tubes, the product header and the tail header, right? Now the bad atoms, either it gets discharged, they discard that, or it kind of like gets hooked up again to back to the machine, which to see if they could still get some good atoms out of it. You understand? I wouldn't expect that it would get looped back into the feeder header, of course, because that will fuck up the UF6 and shit, right? So either it gets discarded or it gets looped back into the machine. Now, all this stuff is hooked up to what they call a cascade or cascade machine, right? The way I just picture that shit while I read through all this fucking scientific technical mumbo jumbo, right, is a big ass pipe. Pause. It's like a big ass pipe, and it's got different tubes attached to it. It's got different tubes attached to it, which are the product tubes, and that tube is connected to a centrifuge, right? So every time that shit gets spun around, put in the Fort Nelson, the good atoms go through that tube or through that product header into what they call a cascade machine, right? And it's in that cascade machine that all of the good atoms are kept, right? Now, keep in mind, this is one centrifuge, okay? It's just one. I think the rate of one centrifuge doing that with the good atoms that I just explained, it's about 0.7 to 0.8%. Now they got thousands upon tens of thousands of centrifuges hooked up to this cascade machine, right? So this is what they mean when they say a uranium enrichment. You understand me? So now, in 2015, when Obama um, had that JCPOA and stuff, first of all, it was multilateral, so it wasn't just two countries like in this case, U.S. Iran. It was multiple countries, right? I think Germany, UK, who else? UK, Germany, France, and a couple others, right? US. It was five of them. Now, do you know? Does anybody know what the rate that Iran had to agree on for the JCPO? Russia, thank you, please. You know, does anybody know at what percent Iran was supposed to keep their purity under? I think I mentioned it before. 3.67%. Again, I repeat, 3.67%. Not only do they have to keep their uranium enrichment on at 3.67%, but also they were only allowed to have a stockpile of 300 kilograms worth of uranium. That's all they were allowed to have in a stockpile. You understand me? So, in order under 5%, even under 4, Mean Gene. Who is Mean Gene again? I'm familiar with the name, but I can't figure out who that. Anyway, so less than 300 kilograms worth of uranium in your stockpile, and you got to keep your enrichment under 4, Mean Gene, under 4%, 3.67%. You know what I'm saying? I made sure I wrote that down too. 3.67%. And how they did it was that they had to go into the freaking factory or their refinery, and all those product tubes that I was telling y'all about, that the good atoms or the U-235 flows through into the cascade machine. They had to unweld all these things. They had to unweld them, all those tubes, unscrew, unweld, all that shit, to the point where, put it this way, if they had 20,000 centrifuges, they probably disconnected a total of 15,000 to 18,000 centrifuges. So in other words, all that fucking product header and all that stuff where the good atoms pass through, all that shit was unwelded, unscrewed. So in other words, you can't even screw that shit back. That shit gonna take you months, if not years, to do. You understand me? And then also, of course, the IAEA would have to could inspect anytime. You understand me? Anytime, any place, anytime they want, they could come through and see what the fuck y'all doing. And keep in mind the IAEA is represented in all the UN countries, right? Like, so it could be Russia. Hold on, Russia is not a UN nation, is it? No, it's not. But it could be Russia inspecting. It could be it could be Russia inspecting. I think it would have to be France, Germany, any of the UN countries. The reason why I say UN is because I remember, like, my brother used to work for them for the IAEA and stuff years ago in Austria and shit like that. So that's why I'm thinking that it's only the UN nations that would be the ones to. But anyways, the IAEA, right? Okay. They would have to inspect that. So in other words, Obama made it impossible for them to even get past 3.67% enrichment or 3.67% purity for their uranium because they dismantled everything. They dismantled most of the centrifuges. You know what I'm saying? Don't believe me, my nigga. Go look that shit the fuck up, nigga. I know what the fuck I'm talking about in this case. In this case, you know? Like I said, man, I went down that rabbit hole. So not only did the JCPOA ensure that the IAEA would go in there, dismantle all their tubes and pipes and product headers and all that stuff. Also, that shit was stored away and sealed with the IAEA seal, right? Well, however they stored that away, I guess they must have shipped it out or whatever. So they made it impossible for Iran to produce anything more than 3.67, right? So again, if we look back at this MOU, what did they say? Well, what do they have to do to behave? They have to keep their shit under how many percent? 60. And what did I say? How many percent do you need to actually have a nuclear weapon? 90, right? So you're on 60. You just got to stay on. You just got to stay under 60%. And nothing concrete or specific is outlined. Just under 60, given that you're that close to 90, and you're gonna be able to. We're gonna lift your sanctions, and you're gonna be able to sell oil again. Keep in mind, under the JCPOA, they got that oil embargo. They got the sanctions lifted back then as well, and they were able to sell oil, but only after they've dismantled all of that shit. You understand me? After you could say they crippled them to 3.67. You understand me? That was the only time they were able to lift those sanctions. And then Obama said, okay, we're going to unfreeze your assets. It's not like we're going to give you $100 billion or whatever the fuck that was. You understand me? So that's the thing. So I'm going to ask y'all who's still in here listening, the four that I see in here. Who had the stricter or better deal? Okay? Because they were exact conditions given to lift the sanctions for Iran back in 2015. Not only that, if you messed up that deal from 2015, you got beef with the US, you got beef with Russia, you got beef with France, you got beef with the UK. You understand? And also, I guess, it was what was it, 159 page thing and all that stuff. So again, it was a lot more detailed, and they had strict guidelines that they had to adhere to before they even got any sanctions lifted. In this case, however, oh yeah, just sign this memorandum of understanding, right? Is a memorandum of understanding. Just sign this memorandum of understanding, and we're gonna lift the sanctions immediately. You know what I'm saying? And just make sure you keep your uranium enrichment to less than 60% at least. And you're gonna be able to make, and we gonna back off of your oil ports, and then you can start making money. You don't have to sell oil under the table anymore, and all of that stuff. And if you don't do nothing for 60 days, we're gonna unfreeze some of your assets as well. And we're gonna start rolling out the $300 billion reconstruction fund for y'all. You understand? So makes you wonder, You know, when people say, yeah, well, Obama did it too. Well, yeah, he did it too. But I mean, he ain't give them niggas all this leverage. And then on top of that, you telling these niggas that, yeah, you know, if they're able to behave and after 60 days and Oman and GCC and Iran, you know, they work out who's gonna take who the fuck you think gonna take control of that shit, my nigga? Who's in control of it now? And what makes you think that Iran's not gonna say, nah, fuck that, we're gonna keep control of that shit? What is GCC gonna do? What is Oman gonna do? You know what I'm saying? They can't even do nothing now. So what do you think they're gonna do 60 days later with a much richer Iran because now they're able to openly sell oil from day fucking one, not even after 60 days, on day one. Hmm? And the other thing is that because it's a bilateral agreement and stuff, it's like, okay, well, you know, if anybody violates the agreement, of course, mainly Iran, if Iran violates the agreement and stuff, then it's just back to bombing again. You understand me? But at this time, you know, Iran would have had much more money in the bank, much more resources. You understand me? And given the fact that they were already a 60% enriched, they 60% enriched uranium or 60% purity, whatever you want to call it, and shit like that. I mean, it's just 30% off of 90. So they're really close to a nuke, to a nuclear warhead. You understand me? You know? And keep in mind, nobody asked anybody to unweld and unscrew any tubes or whatever. Nah. So if you really compare 2015 to now, 2015 said you got to dismantle all this shit. We got to rebuild all this shit, this machine. We got to unhook all these fucking centrifuges, at least 15 to 18,000 of them motherfuckers. And I'm just saying 15, 18,000 just because I used the number 20,000 before, right? You use whatever number you want. But a majority of those things were unhooked, unwelded, unscrewed, and all that stuff. They did a whole change to the point where they wouldn't even be able to produce any more than, 3.67. But in this case, there's nothing being dismantled. There's nothing that's being rearranged or whatever have you. You understand? You're keeping everything the same. It's like you're telling them, oh yeah, please stay on the 60%. So they say, oh, okay, well, we just gotta, turn off maybe like 50 to 100 centrifuges. Just not even disconnect them. Maybe just turn them off if you can even do that. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, if you ask me, this is the art of the deal. This is the art of the deal, right? You know, you're giving them all this leverage, bro. So if you can give them all this leverage, who really won in this case? Can you say you're the winner if you're willing to give them all this? You know? And I believe this is exactly why, you know, a lot of the Republican politicians as well are like, yo, my nigga, like Orange, like, what are you doing? You understand me? I mean, of course, the Blue Star is not happy about that shit at all. And so are the Blue Star supporters in government. They're not happy about that shit at all because it's like, dog, like you giving these motherfuckers all the cards. You understand me? It's a lot of countries hurting for oil. We can't, there's no guarantee that China's going to be the only one buying from them niggas. They will be able to sell on the open market just like everybody else. The oil waivers and shit like that. So, again, man, you got to think to yourself, giving these niggas everything they want. you know. But then you turn around and say, yeah, what Obama did was so bad. And I'm not saying this to defend Obama. I mean, let's just look at the facts, man. Let's look at the facts here, my nigga. You know? Oh, he gave $100 billion of our money. No, unfroze the assets. The same way y'all are looking to unfreeze the assets after 60 days. Y'all looking to do the same thing. So what's the problem? Matter of fact, not only on freezing assets, $300 billion on top of that over a long period of time to help with reconstruction. I thought there was the ops, huh? Well, what's happening? This shit is crazy. And yeah, Shaka, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, y'all give me a like, man. Fuck out of here, yo. You know, so again, you know, knows a lot of niggas that, thought that, the orange gonna be promising, but yeah. Hey man, the gas prices is just peanuts, man. I mean, gas prices, that's peanuts. So I love the recession. Yo, my nigga, I think it's safe to say that Iran won. So all that stuff about if they behave and stuff, I mean, I get it. I get the language around it and stuff, but there really isn't much to behave. I mean, you ready to give them what they need to get stronger. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I always want to keep this shit to like an hour. I know last time I think I went like an hour 30, you know. But yeah, that JD Vance thing, man, just had me thinking, you know what? I think I'm gonna do a stream about this. I already like kind of like did some research on this uranium enrichment and shit, and try to see like how's this MOU different than JCPOA. And I mean, just objectively speaking, anybody that's still in here listening to me, what would you say was the better deal? You know what I'm saying? The one where you cripple them motherfuckers to less than 4% production or uranium enrichment. You dismantle their whole shit to ensure that it stays like that. You control their stockpile. You make sure that the IAEA goes in there and monitors what every day, not every day. I'm not sure it was every day, every month or every year to make sure that they sticking to the plan, to the agreement. And if you don't stick to the agreement, you got beef with 5 other countries. Huh? That's like having a deal with 5 lawyers in the room. And this shit just seems like some, handshake deal. If you ask me. I mean, in comparison, for real. So, yeah. And so, I mean, JD Vance making all these claims and all of that stuff, and the Iran is weakened and all that. Yeah, well, even if they're weakened, they ain't gonna be much longer. Because this is the deal that you putting on the table for them. So, like, I think I repeated myself enough. If they sign this shit, we already know what it is. 60 days ain't even gotta run out. Day one, my nigga. Let's get some money. You know what I'm saying? So they can keep their uranium enriched far higher, much higher, over 10 times higher than 2015 even required. Just stay under 60%. You good, my nigga. So uranium is going to stay enriched. Your pockets is going to be enriched. Your government coffers, And at some point, you could be like, man, fuck you and fuck this deal. It's like, okay, then we're going back to war. All right. I mean, I don't know about y'all, man. It seems like these niggas got all the leverage right now. Iran, that is. You know what I'm saying? So, or they have more leverage. You understand? So, yeah, that's just what it is. So, I don't know this whole thing. Yeah, well, if they behave, they gotta behave. All right, cool. Well, we got a chokehold on the economy. All right, all that stuff sounds good, and I guess it's supposed to sound good, because I mean, like I said, Iran is also, pushing propaganda to their people over there, talking about, oh yeah, we're going to get 24 billion or 12 billion or whatever. So you could say it's on both sides, but I think we're long past, the point where um we have our chest out to say, yeah, we destroyed their nuclear weapons program and we destroyed their ballistic missiles nigga. Did we? Did we really? Did we really? I mean, with everything that I've said in this past hour and 2 minutes and 47 seconds, would you say anything really got destroyed? And keep in mind, these people, that's Iran is like, what, like a fortress behind mountains and shit, yo. Like, anyways, I think that's mainly it. That's really what I wanted to get off my chest. I hope everything that I said made sense. Hold on. Jerusalem said something. Zero said gas prices will not fall by much. Everyone needs it, so demand is extremely high, meaning big economic countries will buy all gas in bulk, shorting the market and creating inflationary pricing. Yeah. Yeah. Look, man, it's gonna be crazy, you know. But hey, the strait is going to be open, and it's going to have to be open for at least 60 days. So, you know, wait, Zero, you saying that Iran is going to set the price pretty high, which is just going to reflect higher in our gas pumps? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that with the strait being opened and stuff, production can start again, but a lot of oh, okay, okay. He said Iran does not need to set the pricing is set by scarcity. Okay. Yeah, a lot of these how do you want to call them? Oil experts and engineers, they've already said that we're running behind. Most countries are running behind. So even if the strait is open right now, and this is what they said a month or 2 months ago, that even if the strait will be open right now, you know, the refinery from the crude oil and all that stuff, like that in itself is going to take a couple of months. So, you know, like Zero said over here, you cannot expect gas prices to fall by much at all. But hey, I bet you what's going to be pushed to you, supply shock. Yep, there you go. But I know what we're gonna be hearing in the news. Yeah, we won. We got the strait open. Ain't that what the world wanted? Ain't that what y'all wanted? We got our own oil. We don't need anybody's oil. We got our own oil. We got enough oil in our reserves. We have enough oil in our reserves. You know, and we did a favor for the world. The world needed oil. Japan is fucking is in the dumps. Cuba is in the dumps. You know, we got the strait open. That's a win. That's the win-win situation. Ah, man. Zero say opening the strait is fine, but tensions create reflexive buying. So China and others with big pockets will get as much as they can, starving the remaining countries. Also, this is great news for oil commodities. So while I'm not giving investment advice,
Yeah, yeah. The big countries with big pockets is going to buy the most, man. You see? You see? Everybody's going to put their bid in, man. You know? So Iran is going to be winning, my nigga. You know? So destroy what exactly? Huh? What exactly have you weakened? Huh? Oh yeah, we killed. Well, fucking Andrew Wilson talk about. Oh yeah, well we should go there. Regime change, and we killed a pedophilic leader and all that shit. Really? Um, what did Trump say? He said he didn't really care about regime change. This nigga at the G17 to say he didn't really care about regime change. What? Whatever happened to Iranian people need to rise up, overthrow the government? Oh my god, yo. Oh Lord. Anyways, I thank you guys all for being here. I thank you, Blaze, Zero, New, for contributing. Mean Gene, what? Mean Gene, E70, for contributing. At least y'all making me feel like, I didn't like lose anybody. I guess everyone was pretty much able to kind of follow what I was saying here. Wait, Zero said eventually the BRICS nations will have to call a meeting that basically will put Israel at risk. The world can't be starved off energy because they're scared of Iran. Yeah, true. True. They will, you know. And quite frankly, I don't know, and this is just my opinion right now. I don't think it's going to be hard to negotiate with Iran, but we don't know. We don't know, you know, because Iran wasn't bothering nobody except for, the Blue Star. You know what I'm saying? They were strengthening their little proxy groups, the Hezbollah and stuff like that. And what we've come to learn is that, all these proxy groups were there to really keep Israel off of the backs of those nations that these proxy groups was at, you know? So they'll be able to fight back. And then, the Blue Star will come back to us and be like, hey, we need more money to fund our soldiers. Well, I guess we could say to some extent that I guess it's good news to hear that Orange has finally said no massa. You know what I'm saying? At least he said that. You know what I'm saying? Cause damn man. That BB gun was held to his head, man, and he was doing everything. But again, it all smells like symbolic shit to me, something that the people want to hear, especially those high IQ Caucasian individuals that we have so many of in this country, those high IQ whites, man, that say blacks are low IQ, that talk about black fatigue and all that shit. I'm sure they're going to be happy, They're going to say, hey, we're winning. We're winning. Steven Chowder or whatever the fuck his name is, Yeah, we're winning. Yeah, we're the straightest open. Isn't that what the P want? Yep. So I'm sure we're going to get ready to hear all of that, rolling in. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I'm going to be out of here. And thanks, guys, for listening. And yep. Peace.